All right, so in this problem, it says Caleb began a science experiment with 18 grams of unknown solid. During the experiment, the change in the mass of the solid was negative 7 grams. What was the mass of the solid at the end of the experiment? Now, to solve this problem, Edna subtracted 18 minus negative 7 and came up with an answer of 25 grams. Is Edna correct? Well, to figure that out, we have to write it out for ourselves again. So if I was to draw it out, 18 minus negative, well, I got 18 grams. That means I start at 0. The first thing I do if it's 18 grams, that means I immediately start with plus 18. And then the change was minus 7 grams. That means negative 7. So now all I would be doing is starting at 0, initially go up to 18. So I draw an arrow going up to 18. Then it says the change of negative 7. And since the change was negative 7, that means that from the end of 18, so from 18 is then when I went down by 7. So from 18, so here's the plus 18. Then from the tip of 18, I go down by 7, which would look something like this. There's minus 7. So what was the mass of the solid at the end of the experiment? Well, to figure that out, all I would do is say, well, if I was at 18 and I went down by 7, what would this number here represent? And so all that would be is 18 plus negative 7, which is really just 18 minus 7. And 18 minus 7 is just going to be 11. So if we think about this, was Edna correct? Well, Edna said 18 minus negative 7 is positive 25, and that's not what's happening in this problem. Change added to the 18, but adding a negative means subtraction, so that means you really subtracted. 18 minus 11 is 18 minus 7 is 11, so she was wrong. No, Edna should have added 18 plus negative 7 because she needed to add to the initial amount because it was a change. In October, Diana planted a tulip bulb 6 inches deep in the soil. The next spring, when the tulip bloomed, it reached a height of 13 inches above the surface. What is the total distance from where the bulb was planted to the top of the tulip? So again, I have to draw and imagine what's happening. So if I draw my number line, starting with 0, if it was 6 inches deep in the soil, then 0 wouldn't make sense to be at the bottom because it's going below 0. So I'll put it up top. Here's 0. If I have 6 inches deep in the soil, that's represented by negative 6. The next spring, when the tulip bloomed, it reached a height of 13 inches above the surface. That's plus 13. So if I read through and take my time to figure out what's happening, the first time it was 6 inches deep in the soil. So I go down to about negative 6. I started at 0 and I went down to negative 6 to represent the plant being 6 inches deep. So I'm going to start with a minus 6. But then the next spring, when the tulip bloomed, it reached a height of 13 inches above the surface. So that means it went from negative 6 inches below, it went all the way up to 13 inches above. So I actually have to extend my number line here. So if I say that this is 13 right here, that means I would end up going through 0 all the way up to 13 inches above. So what is the total distance from where the bulb was planted down here to the top of the tulip up here? So when they asked me for the total distance, that means I had to go from the minus 6 back to 0 first, which is 6. Then I have to do another 13 from 0 to the top of the tulip. So that will be 13 plus 6. So this will be 13 plus 6, which is going to be 19. In the early spring, the trout at Big Lake swim at a depth of 30 feet below sea level. When the lake warms up in the summer, the trout swims 20 feet deeper than that. At what position relative to sea level do the trout swim in the summer? So once again, I recognize there's a depth of 30 feet deep below sea level means minus 30. 20 feet deeper than that means it's going to go minus 20. So I'm going to draw my line, draw my number line. And when I draw my number line, I'm going to recognize that everything is happening below the water. And so here's 0. That's the water. The first depth is minus 30. So if we put that right here, I'm going to start at 0 and go to minus 30 first. But if I go 20 feet deeper than that, I'm going in the same direction. So I'm going to continue from the edge of minus 30 and go down by another 20. So go down by another minus 20. So now that I look at this, if I check my notes, I will confirm that if I have two quantities going in the same direction, I just add them together to find out what the new position is. So this should be negative 30 plus negative 20, and the end result would be negative 50 because they have the same sign. So from the water all the way down to their new position would be 50 feet below sea level. So my answer will be negative 50. Florence is playing the Myth Monsters video game, where players gain and lose points in battle. At the beginning of the second level, she had 38 points, but she soon got negative 12 points for losing a battle. What is Florence's score now? So if I draw a number line again, I'm going to first recognize the integers. So I have, since she had 38 points at the beginning, that would be a positive 38. Soon she got minus 12 points. So obviously that's negative 12. So then if I draw my number line, I have 0 here. I'm going initially to 38. So I'm going to go up to 38 first. And then she got negative 12 points for losing a battle. So that means from 38, she must have gone down by 12. So if I write 38 first and then go down by 12, the question asks, where's Florence's score now? So they're asking for the new location. And as you notice, it said when you're asking for the new location, you're typically going to be adding it because the score changed by minus 12. So since it's going to be 38 plus negative 12, because change means that you add from the tip of one to the beginning of the other. So 38 plus negative 12, since they're going in opposite directions, I'm subtracting. So that's 38 minus 12, and 38 minus 12 would give you a final answer of 26. So Florence's final score is 26 points. A turtle swimming 2 feet below the surface of a pond while looking for food, he went down 7 more feet. What is the position of the turtle now relative to the surface of the pond? So what does that mean? I have 2 feet below. So that means negative 2. While looking for the food, he went down 7 more, which means negative 7. And so when I draw my number line, I know everything's happening below the water. So 0 is going to go up higher, so everything can go below 0. The first thing he did was go down by 2. So go down by 2. That means I would end up at about negative 2. But then it said he went down 7 more feet. So if I go down 7 more, I have to go down 7 from negative 2. So when I go down 7 more from negative 2, and I put my minus 7, again, when I see them going in the same direction, that tells me that I should add them together. So this should be negative 2 plus negative 7, and that will give me a final result of negative 9, which I can see makes sense. So what is the total position relative to the surface? It's from the surface all the way down here is a total of negative 9.